It's Michelle with Live Life Whimsically, and I just wanted to give you guys a little update. First, my normal disclaimer of what my channel is about. And if you're here, wouldn't you mind liking and maybe subscribing to the channel? That would be awesome. Some days I talk about other content creators. Sometimes I talk about my path in witchcraft. Sometimes I just talk about whatever comes into my mind. And sometimes I just get drunk on live stream because I find it kind of funny when people do that. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but as I've been reminded of recent, you need to go find a different chair if this one doesn't suit you. Um, I've been not feeling well. I'm actually going to the doctor today, so I'm a bit under the weather and I'm still in my pajamas. So before I turn my camera on, full disclosure, cat pajamas, cat next to me in the recliner. And I missed a couple of days and I apologize for that because, dudes, I was so sick, fever, everything. So, of course, the day I'm going to the doctor, that's all cleared itself up. But anyway, yeah, let me just start the camera. Get ready. Here we go. Hey, 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 hey. I got the Three of Pentacles today. And let me just tell you guys this. Just look at that card. It's cool. First time I ever saw it, reminded me of a stop sign. Um, I have been reading some sort of divination card since the 1970s. I'm still not very good at it. Um, some things are harder for me to grasp than others. And I also think that the concept of tarot reading was misconstrued in my brain. And I began to think that what I really needed to do was to memorize those cards and their meanings. And really, that's not what you need to do. And the one thing that this little journey that I'm doing with you guys has afforded me is the chance to actually take a second and not go right to the book, but to look at the card and think about it, especially now that I'm pulling them now before I come out and then writing a script for them. And so I pulled the card, I looked at the card, and I decided what do I see here? What's jumping out at me? Because that's really important in tarot reading, that you're not so focused on what the book says, but what you're picking up from the card, because those are the things, those are the messages that are trying to be transmitted to you from the universe is what you see that's popping out at your eye. Okay. And so, and then I just, when I started writing the script, I called it the Three of Pentacles, but then I changed it to, when you get older, sometimes you got to say F the way we've always done things. Because that's what this card said to me today. And I wasn't lost on the fact that there were three people on this card building something. And that's because right now in my life, my boyfriend, myself, and my best friend are trying to build a life together. So that card is, it's a non-traditional family to me. I mean, at least for what most people would consider a family, right? So the things that jumped out at me were collaboration, working together, teamwork. And then when I looked at the book afterwards, I realized that that was unlimited manifestation, which makes perfect sense in a pentacle card, because pentacle is all about your money, your home, your foundation. It's related to an earth sign. Um, Learning from each other, mentors and apprentices, co-creating for the good of the collective. And also it's a reminder that I am part of this growth, something I've always had a hard time with. A reminder that my relationships are part of my well-being, which is really freaking true to me. Being a part of a community, of a family, of a larger thing than myself has always been super important to me, and I'm sure super important to everybody else. We're always looking for the where did we come from and where are we going kind of a deal. And I think as you age, that even becomes more important to you. um, I have a strong need for a family relationship, especially now since I'm empty nesting. And I have to remember that we all have unique abilities and qualities that we bring to the table. And most oftentimes, I discount the things that I bring to the table. So, and I also discount my worth in most of my relationships, right now the family we're creating is not a normal one. It's not. Some people would find the way we will be living strange because the three of us are going to move in together, buy a house together, and live with one another. And I just want to remind everybody that now, and what this card also says to me is not all love affairs are physical, and they're not always defined the same way, but nonetheless they're very real. The relationships you have with other people, whether they're your best friend, your lover, whatever, those are very important things. In many ways, the three of us will be a triple, not the normal nuclear family, and which, if we're being honest, leaves us lacking in many places, especially when we're empty nesting or things like the divorce that I'm about to go through become a reality. Um, in a word, we're faced with a lot of loneliness, right? When these things start to fall apart, especially all at the same time. When I spoke to my therapist yesterday, she said that, because I said, "Gosh, I'm 61 years old, and here I am, a second failed marriage, going through this divorce at this age." And she said it's not unusual. It's actually quite common to be this age, have your children all grown up where they don't need you anymore, and one or both of you look at each other and say, "What are we doing here?" I mean, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances, and probably one day when the divorce is over, I'll explain the story of how I ended up here. Because the truth be told, I don't hate the guy, and I'm not in love with him, but I do love him and I do care about him. And I'm sure he feels the same way about me. But there's extenuating circumstances that preclude us from being able to cohabitate together. And originally, the thought process was it would be me, Bob, and him living together. And he's just not making that possible. And I guess in a certain extent, I'm not either, because it just doesn't work for me anymore, and I'm sure it just doesn't work for him either. So here, let me just get to where I was. So add divorce to the mix and its recipes for disaster. I've always been the person people have called when their people were crossing the veil. I've sat vigil at so many bedsides while people died. I have lost count of the number of folks that I have done that with. I've also taken care of so many people that could no longer do so for themselves. And number has to be in triple digits by this point. Um, I've sacrificed myself to make sure that people were not alone, the dying as well as their loved ones. So many said that I would be rewarded for what I do. I never I didn't believe it and I didn't expect it. But as I enter this new phase of my life, I see that that is what is really happening to me. I just moved from one kind of family life to another. And I think that that's a big problem in our society, is that we throw so much value on a husband, a wife, children, or even just two parents and children, that that's a family. And we don't take into account how other kinds of families can be created and are absolutely, in my opinion, positively important to the well-being of everybody, of all humans, because not everybody wants to be a parent, right? Not everybody wants to be married to somebody. Um, so what if there was no Bob in the picture? Belora and I would still want to do this thing and be together. And as long as um, we can make some kind of a contract. I don't know that either one of us would marry the other one. I mean, that would not be out of the realm of possibility, to make sure that legally we were able to make the decisions we needed for one another. But I think questioning, especially now in the way that our country is really leaning towards fascism, and it is, and if you don't understand that, you should probably take a look at that. It's important that we push back against societal norms, and it's if that's what we choose to do. I'm not saying that traditional families are a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's not everybody's cup of tea, and you shouldn't force people to drink that cup of tea. And I think that if you're out here on YouTube, you hear that said a lot. But I think that we are biased in that we think that, oh, well, that's okay for me, but you're going to do things the way that I want you to do them. And if I don't want to do them the way that you're doing them, then there's something wrong with me. And no, that's not true. As long as everybody's an adult, as long as everybody can consent, that's not a problem. I think people should be able to do whatever the freak they want to do, as long as everybody is able to make those consenting choices. So as I entered this new phase in my life, I see that this is what's really happening. I know when it's my turn to in the waiting room for the journey on the cosmic train, I'm not going to be alone, which was something that always freaked me out. But more importantly, in the before time, and I plan on having a lot of that, I I'm about to create a new family with many new adventures, and that's what this card tells me. I was really hoping that some of you guys would pop into the chat this morning and I would pull a card for you all. Maybe one day I'll set up a thing where we just do open tarot readings, or, whatever, if you guys wanted to know. But yeah, that's about all I got for you this morning. If you stayed this long, again, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll let you know what happens when I get back from the doctor. You guys have a great day. Peace out.